Hi, I'm Andrew from Creative Guitar Studio, and today on the Guitar Blog, what we're going to do is just, as usual, just go through some of my emails, catch up on some of the stuff that I haven't had a chance to directly respond to folks yet. So we're going to start off with a question from Alex King. He's writing in saying that he wants to go to Musicians Institute. He says he's 15 years old. He wants to attend G.I.T. He wants to also know if I have any advice or recommendations for him about enrolling, and especially about skill level. Overall, I don't know, you didn't put in here where you're from, but if you're from outside of the United States of America, you have to really check with your government and check with what Musicians Institute is going to be requesting that you get from your government. If you're living in Canada, it was pretty easy for me to go. It was just a matter of getting a form signed out and having the request sorted through some banking channels that I had enough money to basically live there. And that was about it. It was pretty simple. Now, other things, of course, you want to be well aware of is you want to get as good as you possibly can get before you go. So get a couple of good private instructors, go through lots of material and get really built up in your theory level and your chops level. You want to be able to take advantage of all that school has to offer once you're there. So be a fairly decent player, by the time you go. Study all kinds of styles too with different instructors in your local community. Try and maybe get some jazz chops up. The jazz stuff is going to help you immensely. Because you'll realize pretty fast if you can have a pretty good handle on the jazz stuff, you're going to be able to pretty much play anything else, as well. Other little tips I can give you too is when you get out there, I think it's really important to have a place of your own. I saw a lot of bad things happening with people not getting along with roommates, and I just wound up getting a small bachelor pad right in downtown Hollywood, and it was perfect for me. And it was pretty close to the school, so it was just walking distance and everything. So if you can do that, that's going to be a big plus, because I sure saw hassles of when people didn't get along as roommates, and then they had to bail out on the apartment that they were in and find a new place to live and all that jazz. It just seemed like a big hassle. So if you can afford it, live by yourself. Another thing I can pass along to you also is before you go, if you're working a job saving money or whatever, you may want to do that for a few years before you have enough income saved to be able to go to G.I.T. But if you can take about 6 months off before heading off to the school, that would be pretty good, and get used to practicing a lot. Like get used to like a 6 or 7 hour a day practice schedule for 4 or 5 days a week, because hopefully you can expand on that when you get to G.I.T. and maybe start practicing 9 or 10 hours a day. And really put your best foot forward with it, because obviously the more you practice, the more you're going to get out of that school. And it'll be one of the only times in your life, this goes for any music school that you go to, that period of going to music college is one of the only times in your life where you're just completely and utterly absorbed in it. And when you get out of there and you start making a living, you have less time to practice, and it's not going to be like that period of your life that you spend at a music college where you've just got loads of practice time. So those are my advice. All other details, you'll have to contact the school and get the most up-to-date administrative information for yourself. I'm going to go to the next question here. It's from Julian, and he's writing in saying he saw that on the Creative Guitar Studio website, as well as the andrewwasson.com website, there's books that you can order. I really should actually remove those books from the andrewwasson.com site, because those physical books, they're meant to be done here at the studio. I never really thought that my stuff and my sites and stuff would, in the beginning when I first started uploading them onto the net, that they would go so worldwide. And I've had people contacting me from all over the place because of YouTube mainly. It's really opened up doors. So really that stuff that's on the Andrew Wasson site, the actual physical books, I'm not really like packaging those and shipping those to anyone. Those are for in study here at the studio. Now what I am doing though is I'm taking the information and I'm rewriting it, and I'm creating courses that will be able to be sold through the new site, and I have a few up there already. But they're going to be all digital. They're going to be like PDF documents, just ebooks basically, and you'll be able to get those. And I'm going to, slowly as the months go on, as the year, as I develop this online thing more and more, because I can see people are really interested in it. It's going to be like corresponding video courses and everything that will go along with it. So I plan on expanding on it quite a bit. So that's the scoop with that stuff. Got time for one more question here. This one is from Jim. He's writing to me from Kansas City, Says, I've been playing for a few years now at a basic skill level with chords and scales, but one thing that's always confused me is the minor pentatonic scale seems to be the most popular scale in rock and pop and lead playing, but most songs appear to be in major keys. How is this so? The flat third of the minor doesn't seem to belong to the songs in major. Is the flatted third generally just used as a passing tone and not used very often otherwise? Well, I'm thinking that you're probably just talking about, just classic rock and pop stuff. I'm just going to grab my guitar here quickly. When it gets into, let's say, I'm going to start at blues, just kind of get this off to you. With blues, let's say you're doing sort of a typical dominant seventh movements of chords like that with a blues swing feel, let's say. In that approach, you've got opportunity to play both major and minor pentatonic scales, which means you have opportunity to play both major and minor thirds. I'm just going to give you kind of a quick Clapton-ish kind of a lick here. It goes like so. And, in that lick, I just kind of fool around there a little bit. It's not really a specific Clapton lick or anything, but it's sort of like along that blending style of major and minor pentatonics. Now, what I want to get out of here, though, is in the very beginning, it's kind of like major sounding. So that's major pentatonic. And then I'm going to go to minor pentatonic. And then back to major. And then back to minor. So I'm flipping, and that will work very effectively over top of your dominant chords. Now, it even works at the same time if you just took all majors and played some kind of a major vamp, like a typical kind of like 60s rock tune or something like that. Now, you can take a vamp like that and just play minor pentatonic on it. It'll work fine. And you'll hear a lot of people do that, some of the old classic tunes there. You can even push minor pentatonic into something like a 1-6-2-5, like if you had to. You could make it where it's going to be harder, but you could force it in there a little bit. The more harmony obviously you have, the more difficult it's going to be to pull this off. But you push it in and interchange things, especially because the major and minor third has such a nice blend between those two tones. So, like if you're in major, you're going to be pushing into the major third, but you'll be able to use the minor third. So there are some little, discrepancies in there, but once you get really good at scales, and this really applies to modes in a huge way, you can use things in situations where you almost, like, theoretically it doesn't seem like you should be able to do it. Great players, like, look at like Steve Vai or Satriani, these guys do that stuff all the time. They play scales, that really shouldn't even be there at the moment, but they're just so good at the sound. They can control how they execute movements from tone to tone with such absolute precision that they're able to just make it work. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. You can do almost anything you want, but you got to have really good control over it. I guess that's sort of the bottom line. But that major third and minor third, that's pretty simple to gain control over. I got to wrap things up and hopefully be able to do one of these again in the next few days for you. But thanks for writing in with all your questions. I always really appreciate it. And until next time, take care, and we'll catch up with you on the next video. Bye for now.